Sorry, chat, I'm looking for something. Shit. Alright, here we go. Sorry, chat. I was looking for a file. I think I finally found it. Although I think it might be just you and I, VOD watchers. And this may not be a long one because I'm very tired. I've been up since like 4 in the morning. Let's see. This story is A Haunted Forest. It is a tale from Uzbekistan. Long ago, there was a haunted forest in Uzbekistan. No one who stepped into its shadows was ever seen again. Rusty axes lay on the ground, dropped there by woodcutters who disappeared forever. Baskets lay smashed in the bushes, left by terrified berry pickers who never returned home. The roaring was terrible. It echoed through the forest day and night. But what roared? No one knew. Some say that evil spirits waited in the gloom, ready to pounce upon their victims and lock them deep within the trunks of trees. Why else did the branches moan in the wind? Others said that monsters with dozens of long, hairy arms rose up through the forest floor and pulled their victims deep beneath the earth, leaving only the axes and baskets behind. The Khan told everyone that neither beasts nor hairy monsters lurked in the forest. Nope. What's the story? The story is The Haunted Forest, which is a tale from Uzbekistan. How you doing, Sassy? what was I saying? The Khan told everyone that neither evil spirits nor hairy monsters lurked in the forest. Only a mighty beast. A hungry beast. A beast who can eat an entire man for dinner, yet roar its displeasure if it didn't find a tender maiden for dessert. The Khan wanted someone to slip into the forest and kill this beast. He was sure he could find a man brave enough to do it. And if that man disappeared forever, the Khan wouldn't worry. He'd always find others, particularly if he offered a prize. So the Khan issued a proclamation. Exhausted for the most part, same. This is going to be a short one. Let it be known, the proclamation stated, that a great prize will be given to whomever kills the beast in the forest and brings back its head. Still have 3 other things to make before I go to bed. Man, Sassy, you're amazing. People better not take you for granted. I've had the most productive and smooth field season I've ever had so far. Things are going really, really well. I'm just hoping they stay that way. But I'm also exhausted. Great prize. The beast bringing back its head. Alright. Hunters came, who could spear a sapling at 50 paces, cleanly splitting it in 2. Soldiers came, who could slice their swords through the air faster than the eyes could see. But one by one they disappeared into the forest. Awesome to hear it. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much, Sassy. I should have pictures on my phone to show the secret server soon. Yeah, there was one bird that decided to run away instead of fly away, but I think he was just being a derp. Yeah, that's the only real thing I'm worried about. But he should be fine. We saw he could flap his wings just fine, so I don't know what his deal was. But yeah, everything else has gone without a hitch. I actually like my coworkers. They're very kind, very funny people. It's good so far. Just absolutely exhausting. One by one they disappeared into the forest. Peasants living nearby heard hideous screams amidst the roaring, and they never saw the brave men again. The peasants piled chairs and tables against their doors at night, so nothing from the forest could burst into their huts. They spoke softly to one another, not knowing who or what might be listening. Only a fool would attempt to win the prize, some whispered. But the shoemaker's son decided to try. His name was Hassan, and he'd heard about evil spirits and monsters ever since he was a child. At bedtime, when dark shadows filled the hut, his mother had told him stories that set his imagination on fire. A cloak hanging on a peg seemed alive when the wind blew through the crack in the wall. Pots and pans looked like heads that had dropped down the chimney and were sitting on the hearth, waiting to devour him as soon as he closed his eyes. As he grew older, cloaks and pots and pans looked familiar, except when he awoke in the dark, still immersed in his dreams. But the frightful roaring in the forest, he never got used to that. It made his skin creep and his scalp tingle. Still, he tended to believe the Khan. It was just a beast, and what beast, he thought, could not be outwitted by a man. When Hassan turned 16, he announced he was going to win the Khan's prize. His mother and father feared for his life, but he promised to be careful. Finally, they let him go to the Khan's palace. Now the Khan had seen many men try and fall, so he was amused that a mere boy would attempt to kill such a ferocious beast. But he gave Hassan a helmet, a shield, and a sword. Hassan thanked the Khan and hurried away. By the time he reached the haunted forest, night had fallen. He carried a flaming torch that lit up the path, but the circle of light made the surrounding woods seem much darker and far more dangerous. Never before had Hassan ventured into the depths of the forest, and never at night. His torch made eerie shadows, and the branches rubbed in the wind, rasping and groaning overhead. Hassan remembered hearing about evil spirits who trapped their victims within the trunks of trees. But he told himself he had heard only the wind, nothing more. Still, he trembled. Suddenly he heard a faint rustling in the dry leaves beside the path, and he remembered his mother's stories about hairy arms shooting up through the leaves to pull unwary travelers into the depths of the earth. Just stories? Then why was his heart pounding so? He stopped, his eyes darting left and right. There was something very dark and very large looming ahead. He held his torch high, breathing fast. But he saw that it was merely the tumble-down wall of an old castle. He decided he would rather meet the beast in daylight, so he prepared to spend the night there, sheltered by the castle's remaining walls. He gathered some wood and soon had a fire blazing. Its warmth made him drowsy, but just as he was closing his eyes, he heard the rustling again. Was something rising up through the leaves on the forest floor? Then he heard a soft voice. "I'm cold," it said. "May I sit by your fire?" Hassan jumped up and held his sword ready. Could something monstrous be lurking here, making its voice as sweet as honey? Hairy arms slid around the end of the castle wall. Or were they hairy legs? Hassan raised his sword high above his head, his hands trembling, ready to strike. Whatever it was, it spoke again, even more gently than before. "Fear not," it said, "and do not believe what you're about to see. Although I look like a giant spider, I really am a girl." A shiny black body with the longest, hairiest legs Hassan had ever seen scuttled into the light of into the circle of firelight. Was this one of the monsters his mother had warned him about? Hassan gripped his sword even more tightly. The spider stayed on the opposite side of the fire. "One day my veil slipped," it said, "when an evil magician was passing by. He saw my face and wanted to marry me. So I ran. And that's when he called upon Suleiman, son of David, the one who honors all requests, and turned me into a spider." Hassan wanted to believe the spider, but needed proof. "Recite the evening prayer," he said, "if you truly are a person." And the spider spoke the words in a soft and gentle voice. Hassan lowered his sword. "Maybe we can find something to release you from the spell," he said. "Maybe I can help you," said the spider, "for I know why you're here." It moved close to Hassan, folded its long hairy legs, and watched over him as he slept. The next morning, Hassan was awakened by a hideous roar that made the very earth shudder. He and the spider leaped to their feet just as a monstrous lion jumped over the castle wall. It was 10 times bigger than any lion on earth, with its ears laid back, tail lashing, and claws ready to cut them to bits. And it could talk. "Who dares trespass in my forest?" it roared. And before the amazed Hassan could draw his sword, the lion slammed him to the ground with one huge paw and pinned the spider's legs with another. "I eat all who enter here. I ate the woodsmen, I ate the berry pickers, I ate the soldiers, I ate the hunters, and now..." It opened its mouth wide and exposed razor-sharp fangs. "Wait, wait," cried Hassan. "Don't you want to hear the spider's story first?" The mighty lion closed its mouth. "Perhaps," it said, and lifted its paws. The spider spoke so sadly about the life it had led since meeting the evil magician that the lion took pity on it. "Come to my cave," said the lion to the spider, "where I have some magic ointment. A sorcerer gave it to me in exchange for safe passage through the forest. Let's see what it will do. So the monstrous lion led Hassan and the spider down to the depths of the cave. It pawed aside a pile of rocks and brought forth a small clay pot. Then the lion dipped a stick into the ointment and rubbed it on the spider's head. A cloud of smoke enveloped the spider, and when it swirled away, a veiled maiden stood before them, clothed in shimmering silk. She was as lovely a girl as Hassan had ever seen. He was beside himself with joy. So was the girl. "Thank you, dear lion," she cried. I'll be grateful to you forever." But the lion was not listening. It lashed its tail and snarled ferociously. "I've always said people taste better than spiders, and two make a delicious meal." It sprang toward them. The girl then threw the magic ointment to the lion, and Hassan swung his sword. But who was the quickest? Did Hassan cut off the lion's head and carry it to the palace? Were he and the girl rewarded with a magic carpet that flew them around the world? Or did the girl fling the magic ointment in time to turn the lion into a kitten? Or horrors of horrors, did the lion gobble up Hassan and the girl with a blood-curdling crunch? It all depends on whether or not the spots on this page are tears of joy or drops of blood. You decide. What a cop-out answer. Holy shit, I'm tired. If I'm not careful, I'm gonna fall asleep on stream. Alright, let me see what else I could cook up. I'm sorry. Oh my god. Ah, I borderline drifted off. Ugh. Hold on. You have a little gaggle of admins who would rib you mercilessly if you did fall asleep on stream. That is very true. That is extremely true. I am trying so hard not to. Let's see. I'm gonna try to do one more thing. Hold on. Okay, no, what I'm trying to find doesn't exist. Alright. I'll try to read one more thing. I'm fading really fast, chat. I'm sorry. I've been pulling really long hours. But I did want to try, because I really enjoy the Spooks. No apologies allowed. Thank you, Sassy. Let's see. Yeah. Alright. Here. I'm gonna try another. Okay. This one is called Laughter at Sunset from Simon B. Marek. I stared at the old colonial house across the grassy valley. It was still the same eggshell color, but even from 100 feet away, I could see the last 20 years hadn't been too kind to it. Decaying wood, a broken porch, and the red brick chimney had somehow been knocked in half. The house had really become an eyesore. 3 days had gone by since I'd driven up the Jeep, and like clockwork, her laughter had started at sunset every day, and had gotten fiercer into the night. But she was quiet so far today. Why? The sun had already become a big orange fireball and began to dip toward the mountains to the west. Or maybe she was watching me stand here, waiting to see what I did. Or maybe she didn't even exist. Maybe there was no such girl. Maybe there was no ghost of a girl who'd hung herself in the upstairs loft in the old Bilton house. And maybe there wasn't any crazy laughter that had haunted me as a kid, just as the wind playing tricks on me like my parents had said it was whenever I brought it up. Maybe. Today I was going to find out once and for all. Time to face the 20-year-old fear. My family had moved from here when I was 12, and I hadn't been back since. Hadn't wanted to, hadn't needed to. But things hadn't gone great for me in the past year. Bad divorce, bad job, bad investments. Hell, lately I couldn't even get myself to go to the gym. So I decided I needed to do something powerful. I needed to kill off the silly nightmare of a ghost that had taunted me as a child. I gagged at my memories as an adult. I needed to know it wasn't real. I looked over my shoulder at the gray brick house I'd lived in as a kid. My parents still owned it, but they never came back to it after we moved. It was a total contrast to the Wilton house. Big glass windows, solid brick walls, and a black, paved driveway that was just as smooth as ever when I drove the Jeep up. I looked back at the Wilton house, took a deep breath, and stepped forward. A jackrabbit hopped along the side of the valley as a quiet, warm breeze caused the grass to flicker. A quiet wind and no laughter. I continued walking down into the valley. A raven landed on the grass about 10 feet to my left. It stared at me and tilted its head. I stopped walking and we looked at each other. A few seconds later, it flew off. I started walking again and looked up ahead. The old house sat patiently. The breeze picked up, and I thought I heard a giggle. She'd never been loud at this time, but the wind was never strong at sunset either. It wasn't until midnight and beyond that things got wild. I'd spent a lot of nights at 3 a.m. staring at my ceiling with eyes wide open, listening to what I swore were cackling shrieks of laughter. I reached the bottom of the valley, walked the flat 50 or so feet, and then started to make my way up to the slope at the other side. Around halfway up, the wind got stronger and the giggling started again. It was louder this time, bouncing across the bluish purple sky like a mischievous chimes. A few goosebumps popped through the back of my neck. I've got to see this through. A minute later, I was on the other side of the valley, about 10 feet away from the house's cracked cement porch. The wind had stopped blowing and it was quiet again. No giggling and no laughing. I stepped on the porch, went up to the thin door, and turned the knob. The door creaked open. I stepped inside. Looking over the room, I saw old photos on the paint-peeled walls, dust-covered books, a couple of dresses bunched up in the corner, and a floor-to-ceiling window showing off the green fields at each side of the room. Straight ahead were the stairs to the second floor. Time to go up. Leaving the door wide open, I walked over to the suitcase and placed my hand upon the banister. I rubbed the back of my neck, then set my foot on the first step. It felt solid, but like the door, creaked when I applied pressure. I took another step and looked back to make sure the rest of the door was still open. It was, and to make sure the door was still open. It was, and I made my way up the rest of the stairs. The staircase rattled when I stepped onto the third step from the top, but I ignored it and kept going. When I reached the final step and stepped onto the loft, a noose hung in a soft glow of sunlight at the center of the barren room. Keep going. I walked over the wooden floor and up to the noose and touched the rope. It burned my hand, and I jerked it back. She giggled. I'd seen enough. I hustled down the stairs, and the instant my foot hit the floor in front of me, the door slammed shut. She giggled again. This couldn't be happening. I ran to the door and tried to turn the knob, but it wouldn't budge. The giggles turned to laughter, and I banged my fist and then knocked my foot against the door. The door didn't move an inch. Laughter like ear-splitting razor blades tore through the house, and my head started to pound. I pressed my hands against my ears and dropped to my knees. Even though my hands were over my ears, I heard the stairs creak. I looked over, but the staircase was empty. The throbbing in my head got worse, and I got back to my feet and went over to one of the windows, where it pulled at the metal latch, holding it shut. It was just as frozen as the door. More laughter blasted through the house, and I felt something like hot breath in my ear. Screw this. I scrambled backwards into the dark to the center of the room, shut my eyes, and charged to the window. My forearms hit the glass, shattering it as the rest of my body crashed through. I hit the ground outside with the sharp edges of glass cutting into my arms and legs. I pushed myself to my feet and wiped the shards off my clothes and opened my eyes. It had gone quiet, and orange sunlight still lit up the green valley as the grass blew in the gentle breeze. She started laughing again, and I started running. I sprinted across the valley as booming laughter smothered the sky. The visit was over when I reached my family's house. I ran in, packed my bag, and rushed back out. Her howling shrieks whipped up the driveway like a hysterical cyclone. I ran to the Jeep and pulled myself inside. Without looking back, I hit the gas, backed out of the driveway, and hauled ass down the dirt road that would take me back to the highway. The laughter faded after I had driven about a mile, and after another mile it was gone. 6 hours later, I was pulling up to the driveway of my condo. I went inside, showered, and walked over to Bob's bar to drink beer, watch football, and try to forget what had happened. And by the third quarter, my second pitcher, I almost had. But later that night, after I'd gone to bed, I could hear her laughter in my head. Heard it the next night after that. A week went by, and then a month, and then 6. And although I'd faced the fear, I knew now that she was real. And I've been hearing her laughter in my head every night at sunset ever since. Not bad. Although it's a short stream, I might call it there because I'm having trouble staying awake. Yeah, I think I'm gonna call it. I'm sorry. As I get used to this and as less orientation shit happens and things get into a rhythm, I should be able to do longer and better spook streams, but for now I am extremely, extremely tired. Yeah. In the meantime, though, we'll face some rest. Yeah, I should and I will. In the meantime, do not eat or drink any questionable substances. Make smart decisions. Do not die. Dying is absolutely forbidden, and I will see all of you wonderful people at a later time. appreciate the patience. Thank you guys so much. I'll do more later. But not right now. Take care, guys.